Welcome to the Diesel Podcast presented by DFC Diesel. How you been, Kory?
Man, what's happening?
Just living the dream. I've been looking forward to chatting with you today. It's been a little bit since we did an episode.
Yeah.
And since then, there's been a lot of changes with the EPA and their guidelines as far as derating trucks with DEF issues, the Troy Lake pardon, the DOJ saying they're not going to pursue criminal charges. I think Lee Zeldin had a statement the other day about working at Trump speed to analyze challenges that are in the diesel market. So thought it'd be great to catch up with you, get your thoughts. You're heavily involved in this, leading the charge with it, and I know I kind of threw a lot at you right there, but what are your
No,
thoughts on
no,
all
it's
this?
great, man. I'm glad to talk with you again. It's always a good time. And yeah, I mean, this administration's moving fast. I mean, I know there's a lot of folks say nothing happens, but I mean, we're seeing stuff happen. I think the speed at which things happen, we all wish would be faster, but the reality is like, holy crap, we're getting stuff done. We didn't know that like would ever happen, right? Like people's getting their criminal stuff just dismissed in the middle of like while they're about to plead. That's different. Something changed.
Yeah, it's been really shocking to see it from where it was in the past to now, and I think people get really hopeful, and we see that with
Yeah.
feedback from listeners, diesel enthusiasts, content creators. How would you temper any of this excitement? What would be your message to people? And the reason I asked that is because when that DOJ announcement came out, there were a
Yeah.
bunch of videos, a bunch of lives and posts about deletes are legal now. Go ahead and do it. Don't worry about it. And if you
Yeah.
actually read the DOJ announcement, you see that's not true. But you're like
Right.
the foremost authority on this. So what? How should we view this?
How did that even happen? I don't even know. I guess if you're in deep for 10 years screaming about it, whenever they're telling you to be quiet, you just end up there. We've got a good team working on with all of us. But I mean, people are really excited because they're seeing forward progress, but there's a lot of mixed messaging out there, and everyone thinks like it's the wild wild west now. Like, hey, they got rid of DEF. That is not like at all even kind of sort of what happened. It's and it's not even applicable to like our trucks, right? Agriculture equipment. So there's a way. I think that a lot of it was probably over the John Deere lawsuit. So basically, I'm gonna butcher this, but long story short, John Deere is basically saying that we're not going to give these functions to end users because then we could end up being held accountable for temporary overrides or what they do with our software. Where the EPA comes back and says, "Yeah, but we told you like they've got a right to repair, so you need to put it out there." Well, they have the same concern, speaking from a high level. I imagine they have the same concern most everybody else, including a lot of manufacturers, would have, which is like, okay, but what happens when another administration comes back in? Are we going to be held accountable for these temporary overrides? And to also state too, like that is not DEF removal. The temporary override in one capacity is a 36-hour override, right? So you can actually finish whatever job hopefully you're working on and then go pay to get the emission system repaired because it's a temporary override as long as you go back to the original manufacturer equipment. So they expect you to repair the DEF. Lee Zeldin on his post, they were pretty clear that it's going to take you. They're working on new rulemaking, and that they're working on new rulemaking, and that also they're looking to make this permanent. So a lot of folks say, "Well, is he talking about get rid of the DEF permanently, or make the D rates going permanently?" Um, I would be surprised if we seen anything regarding like emissions remove or anything like that, like in the next year. Like that would be awesome, but I think it's a process and they're going to keep having to chip away at it. I do know firsthand that this administration recognizes that it's a major issue. Um, an example of that would be like an LBZ versus an LMM. I love this example, and I've talked to a bunch of my friends about it because you've got basically the same engine. Those are not that much different. I made a post online to test the actual difference between a LMM with after treatment on it right now that's got a bunch of miles on it versus an LBZ with a bunch of miles on it. And what's the actual output? And what surprised me with the post that I was trying to get trucks to do the data on was I couldn't find any LMMs that were still running. There's a ton of LBZs and a ton of people offering me that, but there was no LMMs running, and the ones that were, I couldn't test them because they don't have emissions anymore. So it's like, hold on, we've got two of the same engines. One of them didn't live as long, and it's not even hardly available. And the cost of ownership from a LMM to an LBZ, by the time you factor in the fuel penalty, the maintenance cost, if we're getting to 20 years, 500,000 miles, that's over a $30,000 additional cost to own the LMM over the LBZ when it's the same engine. That's wild. And this administration really does get that. They've spoke to tons of people all over the place. Myself and some others had the privilege of speaking with some of the admin direct, and what we were telling them wasn't new information. It was like, wow, we're hearing this everywhere. So just during regen, I mean, I'd have to jump off on a wagon, but just vehicles in regen in America cost over $16 billion additional cost annually in fuel.
Wow.
16, not the fuel penalty of having emissions in general, are just during regen.
Just using
it's absolutely insane.
Hey, Diesel fans, our friends over at Kershaw Knives have a 20% off code for you. If you go to kershaw.kaiusa.com and use code 20TD8FR26, you get 20% off your cart and free shipping over $50. So if you're in the market for a new EDC knife, something for hunting, fishing, around the job site, or around the house, they've got you covered with a whole bunch of different choices for blade steel, blade shape, different opening mechanisms, different handle designs, and it's a great way to save some money and get some cool gear. Again, go to kershaw.kaiusa.com and use code 20TD8FR26 and get 20% off your cart and free shipping over $50. I think the most... I'm not really not trying to be a negative Nancy. I'm really not. But the biggest hope that I had was just like what you mentioned there with the feedback and the interest from the executive branch, understanding how this impacts business, individuals, the economy, which is so different than it probably has ever been in the history of emissions and law and politics. But I really don't get excited about the D rate. I don't even get excited about the pardons. I don't get excited about not doing criminal charges, because ultimately, on the political or bureaucrat side, somebody can say this is now a felony and people's lives got ruined. And I've had them on the podcast. Correct. And I take that really seriously because I can sense the pain in their voice, how they lost their business. They lost employees. Some of them went through divorces from it, right? So I look at it from that perspective, but then I get, it's like I'm hopeful in a sense that the last year and moving forward, they can undo that. But in the back of my mind, I know there's an election coming up in 3 years. We don't know what's going to happen, or the one after that. And if it's so easy to just say, that's a felony, it's not a felony, it's a felony, it's not a felony, what do you do as a business owner to make tuning? What does Ford, GM, or Ram do to make trucks that we can buy that either have this or don't have this? What does the aftermarket do? And you're one of the few people that I've heard talk about it in this space, about the legislative process, so that just can't be changed on a whim or depending who's in power, depending how the bureaucrat feels that day. Can you talk a bit about the legislative part to actually make this something where it's not a guideline or a rule? It doesn't change based on who's in power. It's actually a law.
Right. I think one of the biggest things is, and I think this administration recognizes it, the EPA measures these vehicles' emissions output by what's considered useful life. Useful life can be 10 years or 150,000 miles, or whichever one comes first. So these are considered 500,000 mile engines. What the EPA is considered of is actually the useful life of the emission system. Well, this doesn't factor in the fuel penalty of having the emission system. It doesn't factor in the fact that the engine should go 500,000 miles. So whenever NASA, whenever they're doing an emissions impact on, if we build this new rocket type and we lower the emissions output on that rocket 2%, then that's worth it. They can't do that because they have to measure what's LCA, it's cradle to the grave. So they can't just say, well, this new rocket we built has 2% less emissions per flight. They have to actually factor in, oh, crap. Yeah, we're going to save 2% emissions per flight, but it took us a 2,000% increase in emissions to build that rocket. So on the vehicle front, useful life is just wrong. It's inaccurate. It's not realistic to the real world at all. What's realistic is we measure what the extra emissions output is from having after treatment for the whole time that this vehicle or engine should be running. If we have an emissions system that's considered used at 150,000 miles, then we have to first ask, well, why is the emissions system used? You know, you hear some of them will go longer than that, right? We have to also consider that the engine itself is degrading itself down. So we're getting a dirtier engine. Things are getting a little bit looser. It's just how things go, right? Anyone that's ever had a motor knows the older the motor gets, the dirtier it'll generally get over time. So the government never factored in that at 150,000 miles, if you're lucky and get there, that you're going to have to put another emission system on it. But you're putting a new emission system on an engine that's already degraded. That emission system's life isn't going to be another 150,000 miles. And we need to go to 500,000. So what's the fuel penalty of the rare earth materials that are in there? The shipping of rare earth materials, the fuel penalty, the shipping of the extra fuel that it takes to run these systems. This has to be measured globally, because if we just look at useful life, that's cute. Like, I don't know who came up with that, but that's super cute. This needs to be measured with common sense, just as anything else is actually measured. And that's the reality of how long that vehicle is on the road and alive. The way it's done right now, the way the government sees it is, well, we quit measuring at 150,000 miles. So does the vehicle just get stomped? Does it die at 150,000? No. So would the Clean Air Act look different if the term useful life was changed? Could it be as simple as that? I don't know, but it's something that the administration's taken into consideration because it's common freaking sense, right? So that's just like one angle the way things can go. Another thing too is I like to get to the root of problems. So it's like, how did this happen, right? How did we end up with after treatment on the vehicles? Where did the ethanol content come from? Why did we go to, what's up with the low sulfur diesel, etc.? And you put the big white tinfoil hat on and you find out that most of this science comes from these crazy globalist organizations that are weaponized. So, I mean, we could discuss COVID, right? How accurate was that coming back these many years? The mask stuff, like, it is what it is. It's just wrong. 3 or 4 weeks ago, Trump just defunded a group. He defunded 66 organizations, and one of them was the IPCC. The IPCC is heavily responsible for the science and pushing this nonsense of climate change, which is a get rich scheme. Pushing this stuff, and it rolls through the WEF, and then it rolls to CARB. And then CARB has had reign over the other 49 states for, quite a while now. We've seen the Trump administration absolutely hammer CARB to a point that you're seeing Ram now come out with vehicles that can't be sold into a CARB state. That's huge. That's massive. So how to make it get fixed whenever a new administration comes in is you have to cut the root at the very bottom, in my opinion. So CARB is a major weapon that's used by the globalist organizations to wreak havoc on America. I mean, that's my opinion. And then these other, the WEF, IPCC, all these things, that is where it came from. I mean, Mike Benz just last night was on Rogan night before, talking about how ethanol content basically came into America. And if someone had told me George Soros had something to do with that, I'd be like, what? Even in the ethanol content? Yeah, actually, yeah, over climate change. So I think as you see the administration cutting off these weird organizations, that's where this crap come from. All the science, all the fear, all the nonsense, it comes from realistically those globalist organizations outside of America. And that's to the point of, the elections even being funny, right? Like America didn't necessarily rig itself. America got rigged from the outside, and then a lot of people on the inside made money from it. But it comes from outside sources. So I think if the administration can keep going after the nonsense, then things have to make more sense because it's not subsidized otherwise. The only way that things that don't make sense can continue to prevail, in my opinion, is if it's subsidized. Because if something doesn't work, then the only way that it's going to work is if you're forced to do it or it's subsidized. And generally what happens is someone subsidized forces you to do it. So as long as we can stay going that same route, then I think you're going to see a lot of nonsense get fixed. We would have never thought in a million years we would see the food pyramid recently get like flipped upside down, and we just seen that. Who would have ever thought that a vaccine schedule would change? Like, crazy stuff's happening. I mean, Stu knows way more than me on this topic. He did so good on your last podcast. If anybody hasn't heard it, go back and listen to Stuart Cagle. He's freaking awesome. But I think there's a pathway there, but it's totally not the traditional method. It would be awesome if we could get like the Diesel Liberation Act that Cynthia, is it Loomis? Ooh, I hate to butcher. And then Dan Sullivan, they got behind it. So those things are cool. I think that would be awesome, but it's a little bit far stretch, I think. And to me, is to keep going after the roots of the problem, because if we can get rid of the subsidy and the things that don't make sense, then things that do make sense should be forced to the front line.
I think that helps me, and then people who are listening or watching this, understand how this really works. And it's not as simple as a guideline changes and it's the Wild West, or the process it has to go through it. But then my mind immediately kind of changes gears. And I think I'm talking to Kory Willis, founder of PPI, a lot of other businesses. You're highly involved in the aftermarket. What does the aftermarket do? Like, how do you approach it? Because like you mentioned, like, what happens in 3 years or 4 years or 8 years? Like, how do you can't base your business on like a 3-year period, right? You have to think out long term. So how does the diesel aftermarket accommodate, say, a friendly administration right now, but the unknown of, could this all change in 4 years? Could it go back to the way it was?
Yeah, I mean, someone asked me yesterday, they wanted to open up a diesel performance shop. It was a younger guy, and I was like, it's not time to do it. I was like, and I hate to tell you that, but it's not the time to do it. The federal, the whole, everything needs to change. Everything needs to change. SEMA is doing such a good job. I can't, I was a little unhappy with SEMA, a few years ago, but I can say right now they are rocking it. They've got some new folks that are awesome. And working with them right now on the federal testing, I've explained all my carb problems. I did a full oversight hearing, but working with them, I mean, we're going to have all this done in a quarter of the time that I was stuck at carb while passing the tailpipe emissions. I think folks like SEMA being involved and them being on the front lines with a lot of how the federal testing procedure and whatnot can go. I think if they can continue working with folks in the aftermarket that are trying to do things right, like, 'cause it's hard to do things right, like super hard. To meet federal testing, for example, I mean, you want to sell a product and it be legal, you get it stamped, SEMA certified, man, you're still looking at, a lot of money and months before you get the product out. And anyone entering the business, especially a manufacturer that doesn't want to have any risk at all, then you're going to have to do some form of federal testing that will hopefully stand up to scrutiny. With SEMA, they will stand up for you to scrutiny because they're standing on their process. But if you do it yourself, it's not hard. Like, it's super easy to do. You might have to defend that. And normally it's not the fine that takes people out, it's the attorney fees. So it's not a good time. Like, I've seen a couple of companies recently, respected companies, turn their lights back on social media. And I was like, I'm not out there, trying to be the Grim Reaper or tell people, like, hey, what are you doing? But it's not the time. I hope it doesn't happen. And I don't think the EPA's intentions are to ramp up civil violations, but it would not surprise me if I seen a ramp in civil violations in the coming months. I actually almost expect that, because you still have state attorneys that really believe in their cause and have a personal vendetta against people, and are going to go after that. And without oversight, they're going to succeed in a lot of it. But I'd like to think that they're getting things to where it makes sense. But the EPA still has an obligation to, until rulemaking things change, they still have an obligation to enforce the law. And as silly and dumb as it's written, the way it's currently interpreted and they act upon is, you can't touch the emission system, you know? And I expect that since the criminal stuff went away, that civil enforcement's going to possibly ramp up a bit, just to try to send the message that this is not legal. And I would like to think the experience, what it feels like is you've got one side of the EPA that like really has a climate change mentality and they hate diesels and combustion in general. And you got the other side that says, well, hold on, like what just makes sense? And sometimes the disconnect between that is big enough that you'll have one guy get treated really, really, really well and respectful, and the other side, I mean, they're trying to put you in prison for 5 years, and they go after your family like they did mine. So I wouldn't be confident in it. No one get comfortable. This is not the time to get comfortable. And the civil fight is what I'm still dealing with way more than the criminal. Like the civil fight was bad. I was at a $3 million fine before the criminal thing happened. I'd spent $5-7+ million before the criminal thing happened. So for folks that think like, yeah, I'll take my lick and I'll move on, it might not be that easy. You might have to sell your home to pay for that. And I'm not trying to scare anyone. It's just I guarantee you, it has to be over 100 people over the past few years that I've tried to kind of help through these processes. And it's like you said earlier, it's heartbreaking. It's super heartbreaking to see like people have to sell their trucks and cars and homes and toys to just try to be able to still put food on the table. So although the criminal stuff's gone, I mean, it is not the time to party. It's the time to make these issues known. I kind of jump into that. People ask all the time, what can I do to help? This has gotten so expensive. It's unbelievable. And I think I might make some t-shirts or something. So I'll do something soon. Shut up. I got to do something. But we're going to continue fighting it. But the real thing that people could do right now that I'm serious, they see this stuff, is when the EPA posts on Facebook or Instagram, X, whatever, Facebook's been banging. They see that. And if we become the hottest fire, we will get this fixed. And forget that it's just like diesel truck owners that like want a performance chip, right? There are trucking companies out there that are going out of business because they can't afford emissions repairs. Troy Lake had an example a while back. He spoke about that $40,000 truck and it needed a $41,000 emissions repair. Sorry, you're out of business, man. You're done because you can afford that once, but you can't refinance that truck twice. It's already financed to pay for the emissions repair. That's crazy. But the agriculture thing, you think we're mad and loud. You ought to see the tractor guys. So I'm on a bunch of those forums, which is totally different world. And they're going nuts over this. And they're fighting super, super hard for it. And it's the after treatment killing it. Everybody's talking about its DEF systems, but it's the whole after treatment system. If the DPF pipe stopped up and you tell it don't go in D-rate, 100 pounds of back pressure not coming out 100 pounds of back pressure on the engine, making it not go over 20 miles an hour, that's your D-rate. It's not a software thing. You got a potato in the pipe. But if people in shops, I wish I could express this more. If they would just video, document, talk about it, make a video, post when the EPA posts, go on the EPA's page and talk about the after treatment. Overload it. And people say don't make a difference right now. The DEF post that the admin made recently, that's the number 3 most shared post since from the EPA. Like users and people like us shared it. That is number 3 since Trump got in office.
Wow.
Big Beautiful Bill was number 1. The second one was when they were rescinding this. So tell me what Americans say the top topic is. The top topic is we can't afford to keep this climate scam on our trucks. The climate tax is finally too expensive, and the older the trucks get, the more we're taxed.
Yeah.
The tax.
You know, you had a post last year. It was, I don't know what was going on in the emissions kind of world, but you had posted something, and it was for content creators, podcast people, people who run YouTube channels. And you were talking about how we had a responsibility to create content that was like truthful, understanding that people see this. And I think, like, I know you make great tuning. I know you do a lot of different really cool things in motorsports. But the thing that I appreciate about you the most is the information you've always delivered, even if it's not on this podcast, could be a different podcast, could be on your own YouTube channel, your own Facebook, is it's honest. And I think you really care. What would you tell all of us who have a voice, have a channel, have a podcast, are an influencer, have a whatever it might be, as we report on these things, to be able to help the industry, be able to help people with like honest information? Because I don't think delete your truck now, you're good to go is doing anybody a service.
Oh God, no.
But your voice is really loud, it's really powerful, and if any of them are listening to this, or the people who watch them are listening to this, like, what would you say to us all?
Number one thing is tell this administration is legit listening. So we need to tell them publicly, like on their own pages, what we're dealing with. That's never worked before, right? It's just a bunch of shooting in the wind. I've done it for years, just shooting in the wind, getting nowhere. This administration's different. They're legitimately looking at, and even in some sense, there's AI that is running from the comments and giving the top, like, what is the top, what's the burner, what's the heater? My advice, like for me, I'll be honest, I've got most everything I need. I'm super happy. I'm happy with where I'm at. Now, I don't need deletes. I've like found a little hole. I got a pocket. It's great. Life's good. But I can't go racing, right? And that sucks really, really, really bad. I can't go race freaking diesels. And that's what I've done my whole life. So for me, the thing is I want my kids to be able to participate in this. And people say, oh, well, there'll be EVs and this and that. Yeah, tell that to Holly that's still selling, intake carburetors and intakes. This is 20 plus years. We got a ton of fun in this industry as long as we can play. So for me, it's, I'm starting to try to have kids and things like that. And I've got, a lot of my employees and, they're like family to me that work at the office. They're having kids and I see their kids at the office. And the coolest thing that I could ever do is provide a business that gives the option for all of our kids to be able to participate in this thing that we've made lifelong friends. I've met you through this game. To get a taste of this really cool lifestyle that we live. So for me, the biggest fight is we all have to give it 110%. So that way my kid can race your kid. That's and in the UTV game, that's what I'm seeing a lot right now is the guys that I've been racing with for tons of years. Now we're tuning their kids' cars. This is the coolest experience I've ever had. We're now talking crap to each other and the kids are like, and I don't even have kids yet. So, the biggest thing is it, if it's worth it to you to see this industry live for long enough that you can have your kids playing in the game, it's our responsibility to make sure they can. So the best way, as crazy as it sounds, talking to congressmen, emailing senators, all that stuff's really good. I mean, do it. Definitely worth it. If you get a chance to meet them and talk to them, express the issues we had, like tell them straightforward. Don't sugarcoat it. Drop F-bombs if you need to, whatever. But on the most important thing is going on those EPA pages, Lee Zeldins and all them, and don't be rude to them. You know what I mean? These guys are here to help. It might not look like it on the front end, but they're working their tails off on the back end. But if people could be honest and express the issues they've had, failures they've had, shop owners start doing videos of emissions failures and tag the EPA, tag me. There's a buddy of mine, Carson Jurgensen. He's been helping us a ton on the back end of this. Just have him on one day. He's a great guy. But tag some, make sure that it can be seen, right? Because if you make a post and nobody sees it, well, that doesn't do any good. So tag someone that can see it. But for sure, if you post it on the EPA's page, like under one of their comments, they might be talking about solar panels. Go talk about your truck. Like, look at what I do. If you go on a bunch of pages, you will see me commenting everywhere. And I'm super busy. Like I don't have time for this, but I have to do it. So just make it part of your daily life to express how bad this stuff is and the issues it's caused. It will make a difference. If we're the loudest, if we are the hottest fire, we will be tended to way faster than we can imagine.
It's interesting because right before this podcast, I was scrolling through Instagram and there's a diesel shop I follow, and he had a really nice L5P in the shop. It had the color match fender flares. I could tell he did some, made it look really nice. And he was talking about the repair bill he has to give the guy for his DF system and something else. And it's stuff like that like you probably see a lot. I see a lot. But it doesn't mean somebody at an agency or somebody in politics knows just how common this is.
Yeah, and there's people like if I see this, like if I see something that's really good like that, I'm screenshotting it in and I'm sending it to all my contacts, and then they're sending it to all their contacts. If you want to go in on this, or because so this is interesting. So like Zeldin in his recent statement said that they were about to talk to OEMs and get their failure reports and this and that. People say the OEMs want this stuff. Like they make way too much money off of it, and they're spending over 500 million, sometimes almost $1 billion in just R&D on a emissions system that doesn't factor in the efficiency of the engine, right? Because the engine's not running at near peak efficiency. That's why when people delete them and they tune them, sure, might have higher cylinder temps, little higher NOx output. I mean, way less than that airplane up there, but a little bit higher. But at the same time, the fuel economy that you would have gained off that, getting rid of the fuel penalty, how much does that offset the NOx penalty? And if we factor in the correct 500,000 mile and manufacturing cost cradle to the grave, when we factor in the real science of the emissions output of the lifespan of the vehicle, the real lifespan, not 150,000 miles, you're gonna see that this is nonsense. You could tune a truck, you could have a truck being extremely efficient, and our emission system, if we get the science right, get the measurement right, it's gonna show. You could have had this all along. But utilizing useful life, I go back to that a lot. Utilizing that, yeah, sure. You could make anything sound a certain way if you measure it right. Doesn't mean it's true. But another thing, like with this administration, the cost associated with after treatment, like global cost, when you factor in all the penalties, over on the minimum side, $4.4 trillion of additional cost. The administration heard that. That's an unbelievable amount of money. And here's another thing. This is super important, and it's an inconvenient truth that I know EPA and DOJ hate me over. So when they came after me, it was on the criminal side, and most folks, it was under that National Compliance Initiative. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was like 2020 to 2023. It was a National Compliance Initiative. That initiative's goal was to get rid of delete tuners. The failed Biden administration towards the end of the era, when they were ending off the National Compliance Initiative, stated how many shops they shut down, how many delete tunes they stopped on the market, and then said it was a success, which is a lie. They are idiots. Here's why. Because the National Compliance Initiative, they are correct on the part that they shut down 60 to 80% of the diesel market in America, the aftermarket diesel industry. That is correct. What is wild is deletes exploded 3x post the National Compliance Initiative. So they shut down the money in America. And congrats to my friends in Canada. I'm friends with a lot of friends in Canada, Russia, China. Good job. They're able to capitalize on the fact that Americans and the shops we have in America, we all got shut down from doing that. So now you can get stuff from Russia and China that half of it's stolen from America. Sometimes it's moved through Canada. And hey, there's some guys in Canada that are actually good, right? I'm not knocking everybody else that's not in America. But the reality is the Biden administration said that when they put their biggest foot forward to get rid of delete tuning in America, the reality is it went up 3 times the amount. But now America isn't making any money off of it. And that's a little bit, I don't really like the idea of China and Russia putting software in our vehicles, but and people say, well, they fault people for buying that software. But if they don't have any good educated options in America, if there's not good education coming from America, then you're just going to get what's out there. And someone that has a truck that's broken and can't afford the climate tax or replacing the after treatment, they're probably going to spend a quarter of that and never have the problem again, get whatever comes from China and put food on the table for their families. That's Americans. They're going to fix their problem, even if they can't afford the government mandated solution. And I think that's kind of a kicker. It's like, hey, America, you went all in on getting rid of delete tuners in typical government fashion. You made the problem worse, and now we have other countries putting their software in our vehicles. That's crazy.
Does the administration know that?
Yeah. I don't know exactly how deep they know that, but I know they know it decently. So hopefully I'll get you connected with a bunch of folks, but they truly do get what's going on.
Hey, diesel fans, I wanted to chat with you about diesel fuel. It's something we've talked about a lot on the podcast, and specifically ways that it can lead to a lot of costly repairs. And the main reason that we have these issues is a lack of lubricity. Our friends over at Hotshot Secrets have developed a formula that boosts performance and then addresses this issue. So whether you have an old truck, new one, something anywhere in between, we all face this issue. Hotshot's EDT is a 6-in-1 formula. It cleans injectors, boosts cetane, and it has 4 times the lubricity as their leading competitor. So it's a great way to be able to stay ahead of the maintenance curve, avoid those costly repairs, and the best part is it does the work for you. So all you do is add it to your regular fuel up schedule, and it's doing all the heavy lifting. So you don't have to worry about some of those issues that just come with diesel fuel anytime we buy it from the pump. If you go to hotshotsecret.com, use code DieselPod20. It'll get you 20% off your order. We really appreciate the team and our friends over at Hotshot Secret offering this discount code just for you guys. So if you're in the market, head on over to their website, use code DieselPod20, and get 20% off your order. Maximizing power, reliability, and efficiency begins with clean diesel fuel. That's why Fass fuel systems remove air and vapor up to 99% of water and filters debris down to 2 microns. This alone can triple the life expectancy of your fuel system while also restoring lost power and efficiency. Whether you have a diesel pickup truck or commercial vehicle or anything in between, there's a Fass fuel system for your rig made right here in the USA. Visit fastride.com to find the perfect fuel system upgrade for your truck. It was really cool to chat with you about this part of it because there's so many things they're happening really fast, and it's hard to. I never like to do these really fast right away because I like to read it. I like to talk with you and other people, Stuart, other people in the industry to really understand it before I just throw something out there. And it's not correct, but you connected a lot of different dots, and you answered. I think one of the big questions people always have is, how can I get involved? I'm a truck owner. I'm an enthusiast. I have a business. I hate this stuff, but I don't know what to do. I'm just a guy. I'm just a business owner. And so you gave some very concrete ways that people can participate.
And it's free. It's free. Like, stop doom scrolling for 3 minutes and just do that thing. Go comment on it. Do it every day. If everybody did this every day, like, I can't swear because I'm not in control of it, but I'm pretty positive something would happen quick. I can confirm it's a very big deal to the administration of what fire is lighting up. Can you imagine if the whole diesel industry just crap, man, just 20% of people, if they just went and commented on it, like, after treatment is absolutely ruining, this and that, like, state an honest experience. Like, don't go tell some crazy story, right? Because if you end up which would be crazy, but it can happen. If the administration ended up getting in contact with you, you'd be like, hey, your story was super solid. Would you mind telling that on Fox News or whatever? You know what I mean? You don't want to look stupid. So don't just be dumb. Like, be honest. It's way easier to be honest. And just tell the honest truth of like your experience with emission systems. Or another big deal to the administration is they want people to purchase new vehicles. It's actually a kind of a big deal, especially in the big rig land. Of they don't even want to buy new vehicles. They're resorting to purchasing older vehicles, and like an LBZ costs as much as a L5P these days, And those things are a really big deal. I think people just take a second out your day and go comment on it. I think it'd make it will make an impact, and it's free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you just mentioned there when you were talking, I was thinking, should I say this? Should I say it? I'm just one person, but I get asked a lot like, well, what new truck are you going to buy? Which one would you buy? And my answer is really none. I stick with my old one. And it's not because I don't think they're cool. I saw ATS did like a Instagram live tearing down that 8-speed automatic. And I just watched it for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I want that truck. I love Super Duties. Yeah. But I can't do it. Like, I don't want to do it. And I'm just one person, but I was thinking, like, how many other thousands, millions of people are out there? They're in that same position where they're like, yeah, I would like to stimulate the economy and go buy an $80,000 to $100,000 truck. And I would like to use it for X, Y, and Z and create more jobs or more opportunity. But why, when I could go buy even a $30,000 LBZ? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Or a $25,000 7.3, or even a $40,000 low mileage 5.9. Why would I go buy something that, like you said, 150,000 mile life? That's like nothing on these trucks.
No, it's crazy. I mean, and my thing is why hasn't anyone ever stopped and thought about that? Like the useful life argument. I mean, that's just utter nonsense. It's like saying that I'm gonna drive 100 miles to go get gas for 3 cents cheaper. Like, huh? That's crazy. Yeah, the useful life thing it's really something to hang a hat on. It's a really big deal. Yeah, I've got a couple of notes pulled up. The GDP and jobs impact on this, just like estimated for 2026 is $100 billion loss. That's unfathomable. By 2050, this would be $5 trillion. And what actually ends up happening is, you'll see everything just start moving overseas because, people can't make enough money, can't do things here.
That kind of trends. Go ahead, Kory.
Yeah, that's one of the big kickers, and like the administration, we do our best to explain to them what I was saying earlier. You can't expect an American to put a brand new DPF pipe in an already dirty engine. Like, just that's crazy. 150,000 mile pipes now a 75,000 mile pipe, and then another 150,000 miles we got a pipe that can't even, it's going to throw a code the second you take off and it doesn't work. Like, smash the truck. It's just crazy. And I've got a good bit of data that I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'll try to get posted up in the next few days, maybe over the weekend. But and I'd like for people to pick through it, come up with your own data. The stuff I put out, it's hard to take and put out information and say these are the facts, because it's hard to get real facts, right? Like in general, what's the actual impact of NOx? You know what I mean? And the reason that I'm saying this is you're seeing them they're turning back the endangerment finding, the 2009 endangerment finding. The science didn't change. Real science never changed. So why are we now pulling back an endangerment finding that caused this problem? It was such a dangerous thing that we had to put masks on our exhaust pipes. You kind of see where things are going. There's a process and there's rulemaking changes that have to happen. But the reality of the matter is it just flat out doesn't make sense. And I think that people should do some research and then start posting your questions and solutions on the EPA's page. Just make noise. Imagine if we had 1,000+ comments every single time they tried to talk about a flower, all they hear about is after treatment. I mean, how many times have we seen this administration, people start screaming about something that's very, very, very important to them, and then 2 or 3 weeks they're like, all right, we're taking action on da 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 da.
Yeah.
We just need to keep forward progress, but without all of us doing it, I don't think it's not going to happen. We could have, I personally, this is just my thoughts. Somebody in Trump admin may be laughing at me saying this, but my personal thoughts are is if we don't have enough volume in this, it won't happen. It will be put on the back burner because there are lots of issues in America. But this one really is one of the top issues when you factor in the amount of money, jobs, everything, and that it didn't fix the problem. The leaks are bigger than ever. So we just have to literally make a lot of noise. I keep repeating it, but it's the solution.
So I think to kind of cap that off too is I'm a history nerd. I'm like a political science nerd. That's what I studied when I was in college. And up until now, there's never been a better time for an administration to listen to any of this stuff than right now. I don't care how far we go back, and who knows what the future will hold, but there is no better time to be able to talk about an issue like this and actually have action take place. Normally, it's just whatever. There's tons of other issues that could take precedence over this, but I think people need to remember that, and hopefully they do what you recommended and get out there and participate. There's some questions I got to ask you, and these kind of go right in line with what we're talking about right now. But I wanted to work them into the podcast, so I want to actually just read them exactly how we got them.
Perfect.
This one you kind of touched on a little bit, but I'm going to read it to you. This guy said, I'd love to get his 2 cents on the current state of tuning. Every single day I get questions about tuners who are really just websites that are selling old, stolen, or just bad tuning. There's a ton of confusion in the market about who actually does calibrations and who simply sells tune files. Misleading marketing by shady websites doesn't make it easy for the consumer to understand.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. And I would say 90% of the tunes that you see out there in tuners and companies, it's all bullcrap. Like, I would say 90%. The number one thing that I tell people with that is look for someone that they claim to be the calibrator. They wrote everything from scratch. And here's the thing too. Not writing everything from scratch got a bad rap because people were stealing. I really don't fault the guy that can't do the hex work and all the code and this and that. If it's not on the front end, or they don't have special expensive software files that they can't do their own, emissions changes. That sometimes really good calibrators will find someone that'll sell them a base file and then they can write their own calibration on top of it. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. The problem is whenever they come out and say, I did all the work, because you'll get caught with your pants down, not be able to fix a problem on a truck. But like if someone says in-house calibrator, but you don't know who that calibrator is, I wouldn't buy from them at all. I see that all the time. We have in-house calibrators. Really? There's not that terribly many of them. But whenever you can actually know who the calibrators are and look them up, here's why it's important to look up the calibrator. If you're doing what I do for a living, then you've been passionate about it for a while, and there's going to be some stank trails about you all over the place because you're not doing this. You're not doing this for real without the passion of it. You're going to be vocal about it. You think in turbo land and transmission land, when you call ATS, like if you wanted to look up who the owner is, you're going to find a very long paper trail of Clint Cannon being highly involved in the processes that he has passion about and sells every day. It's the same way for tuners, rather it's, delete, present, whatever. That guy that's passionate about it and talks about it and has a good history, that's probably a pretty good bet. I've seen companies that I really I totally don't care for the owners of them, but like I applaud them for being on the front line saying, this is me, I'm doing it. And then when you call, like, you deal with that guy. That's real. When you're buying from, you know, Hot Rod Tuning that claims to be in the Cayman Islands or something like that, and like has a weird, no, just don't do that. Don't factor in for cheap tuning. Like, do not do that. These are like, this is your engine. Like, it's something not to cheap out on. It's something to do a lot of research. You know what I mean? Like, someone's playing with the way the inside of your engine does things. It's highly important to know and do research of that the person you're using's legit. And if they're legit, there will be a paper trail. And if they're like, well, they just don't want to give their names, pass on that. Pass on that.
It's really good advice.
That's my advice for what I see from the outside. And I do data logs. Like, you know, we've got this data log service that a ton of shops actually started doing it because it's cheaper to just send us a data log than to have their techs diagnosing it. So a lot of people just send us data logs. It's like, and it'll be foreign tuning, unknown tuning, right? That's pretty typical for shops. And so I'll look at the data log and I'm like, I just seen that a while ago from that other company. And I seen that a while ago from that other company. And they all got the same problem. A lot of 90% of the market's all the same crap. So buy from someone that's super reputable and has a, you know, you can watch them live in some form or fashion. Don't go for the guy. I got a buddy of mine, man. He's been doing this for 3 years. It's good to go, because don't let someone tune in for 3 years tune your truck. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, you think of the price of them, you know, what they cost, and if it's financed, and man, that's one of the things that scares me the most is if the tuning's not right, it can get real expensive real fast, and you're going to be on the hook for it.
Yeah, and a company that has a long-standing reputation too, you know, like if I fat fingered something and I screwed somebody's truck up, like I have paid for transmissions. Like, oh crap, I fat fingered it and you had 0 pounds of line pressure. I'm sorry. You know, I've had to pay for a transmission. I've made mistakes, and I care enough about my reputation and my business that if we made a mistake, I care about my name. I'm going to stand on that. But if it's someone that says, EPA comes in, I'll just shut down and I've made my money, I move on. Well, I don't want that guy touching my truck. I want someone that wants to have a career in this industry, not a get rich quick scheme. And that's what most 90% of this crap is. They don't care if their website gets shut down. Go with someone passionate.
That makes sense. Here's another one we got. How does Kory balance work-home political balance as a business owner and keeping up with the ever-growing list of stuff to do?
You don't. If someone has to have a work-life balance, you're not going to be able to. You can't compete with us. It is what it is. But there's a lot of people that don't need a work-life balance, and those people are the monsters, in my opinion. You know, when you're self-employed and you've got to do things, you just got to do them. You know, I mean, that's get up early, go to bed late. I operate on 6 hours of sleep. Like, if I can get 6 hours of sleep, I'm freaking golden. If I get 8, it's something's wrong. Like, I'm pissed off. I didn't have enough going on or something. 6 hours of sleep. Generally, like I'll go to bed. It's like, you know, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm up at 5 or 6 in the morning. I haven't set an alarm clock in years. Just boom, get up. And I immediately have basically the first 30 minutes or so of the morning I'm going to take and try to drink some coffee, watch the sunrise. I'll probably post a clip on Facebook. People seen 1,000 times, but some of my buddies working offshore, they don't get to see pretty views. So I try to do that. But like, I start my day off kind of good. And then like a little bit of personal time. And then the rest of the day is just a bunch of stuff. But whatever I have to for sure do that, like this is what has to happen that day. There's no noise. And, I might have ate out maybe 6 times last year, maybe 4 times year before that. I think I've only ate out. I don't do much. I don't have any friends that, nothing wrong with sports or anything, but like there's no noise in my life. I don't have any really outside noise. I can't tell you what's going on in like a bunch of politics that I'm not concerned with. I don't know what diesel shop Joe Blows are doing over here. Like I used to have more noise but nowadays it's just really it's no noise. What do we have to do? What's the mission? What's the goal? And we're gonna attack that thing. There's no big balance there. But like if when I come in during the day, I'll take my wife's home. I'm gonna give her that time. That's non-negotiable. So my phone, I'll put it away. I'm not accessible for this amount of time because it's a priority that I can give her this amount of time. And the other thing that's non-negotiable too is running in the gym, like some form of physical activity. If you have those basics in, then I mean you're pretty good. But most people's problem is doom scrolling and noise. That's eliminate all the noise. Put a mission in front of you and say, I'm gonna freaking die if I don't get this done, and it'll change your life. Or eliminate options.
It's excellent advice.
I don't have Dish Network. I can't tell you. I haven't watched a movie in years. just work different. Work on the things that matter. And if something doesn't matter, it's noise, or maybe you just enjoy it. Maybe slow down on it and just do more.
It was a really good question because I think everyone in certain ways faces that, whether it's family, friends, hobbies, business, other kind of distractions, and they see you successful and pushing an industry forward, and they want to learn from you. So I think those tips that you gave, really gonna.
It's just brutal. I mean, and how far do you want to go? I was talking to one of my employees about this yesterday, literally, and I said, how much money do you think it would take for you just to be happy? Like, I'm good, I'm set for life, this and that. And the number he gave me was a super low, chill number, just about there. And it's what are your goals? What do you really want to do? And I think that's what most people need to just lay out for themselves, is like, where do I realistically want to be in 20, 30, 40 years? And I think Elon's got the best philosophy for that, which is, if you had to do it in 10 years, find out how you can do it in 6 months and then go from there. And the amount of work that you will get, you will not achieve 10 years worth of work in 6 months, but in 6 months, you might achieve 4 years worth of work, and you're that far ahead. And I think that's the most important thing, is just, what are your goals? My goals are to fix this problem in this industry, have some kids, play in the industry, and have fun with everything else that revolves around that, and help a lot of people to get through hard times. Like right before the oversight hearing, I literally blew my knees out. I think I ran like almost 300 miles the year before, and I ran almost 400 miles last year. And I did that to clear my head. Like, people's like, you don't have anxiety? I'm like, hell yeah. That's why I'm busy. But for me, I don't have a ton of time. So if I can just catch 20, 30 minutes, in the evenings, of a little bit of gym, run, or whatever, that relieves the majority of the anxiety out. You just put it all into there.
Very, very cool. Got another one for you.
Yep.
What does Kory believe the future of diesel motorsports will look like in 5, 10, or 20 years?
It all depends on where this regulation goes. If we can't get this regulation fixed, then we're all going to be playing with old trucks. Because if we can't get it fixed, then it's going to get worse. That's my opinion. I don't think there's neutral in government. You're either fixing something or you're breaking something, because when it comes to our tax dollars, that number is not a flat line. So we're either up or down. Right now, it looks like we're in the right direction. So if we if we don't fix it, then we'll be playing with old trucks and getting fines, and eventually it'll likely phase out. It also depends on the security of the vehicles, which looks to be in the right direction with all the right to repair stuff going on with John Deere, et cetera, and the EPA. I think the ECU side is going to be okay. As far as now, if we can fix this, oh my God, it'll be the best time to be alive. I mean, can you imagine? My thoughts aren't just like we're going drag racing. I'm like, okay, we're bringing diesels to the desert. We're doing, we'll freaking get diesels into the NASCAR arena. You know what I mean? How far can we go? It's there, very efficient fuel. So the new engines coming out, I've seen Jay Tilley's and some others talk about it a bit, but it looks like there's going to be bigger displacement engines in the future. I mean, what happened whenever, we went from a 350 to a 454? Freaking party time, right? That'd be really, really cool. Going to all these new liter engines, it's going to bring in I would encourage everybody and their brother to get into the diesel performance industry if we can fix this stuff, because the innovation. I mean, when was it? You remember Clint was supercharged. Why don't we have superchargers rocking on these diesels right now? It's like,
Right.
oh, just a turbo. Oh, what are you trying to do with the diesel engine? I would love to be able to have those options and just test. And if we can have this stuff somewhat fixed, or we can have protection for manufacturers, there's a few different ways we can skin the cat. But if by some way there's a legal method that we can actually have language that's good enough to be able to build a race car that doesn't qualify as a F1 or a NASCAR or a pro mod, a real street car. Old school NHRDA had to have the 1190 class. It used to have registration on the truck, working taillights. Remember that rule
Yeah.
set forever ago? Imagine that again today. That would be so big. But imagine it whenever the big displacement engines come out and you start that war. I mean, it could be the funnest era in the world, or it'll be or we'll be just talking about the fun stuff we used to do with old trucks. And I mean, we'll be here. PPI will be here. I'll be able to take and give you power for your stock trucks. But at the same time, I'm one of you guys, man. I would really love to have some stuff people's never even thought about on a diesel. Alternative fuels in the diesel. I've got dreams.
Do you remember years ago, there was that company that had, I don't remember what they called it, but they took a brand new Power Stroke, a brand new Duramax, a brand new Cummins, put a bunch of performance parts on it, and they would run it on the dyno to see at what point it broke, and if it was a transmission or whatever it was, and like
It was breaking point.
Breaking point, yeah, it's like 6.4s,
H&S.
yeah, and like that was so. I remember being at work, and I would like turn my speakers up just a little bit to watch it and be like, "Wow, a 6.4 just did that," or "This is what Duramax just did," or "When's the 68 RFE going to puke out of the bottom of the truck?" and everything.
Dude,
else.
that was like the Duramax. They took a LML Duramax. It had dual pumps on it. I think of S475 over stock. Or it was a 472 or a 475. But they turned the injector duration all the way up to 4,000 microseconds, which is like not even physically possible. So it just hung the injectors wide open. But the thing made 1,100 and something horsepower before it blew up. That was awesome. I would have never guessed that you could even slightly get there. I mean, all the spray, but still, like, that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah.
We could, like if the industry got let off the chain, like I would literally just do breaking points all the time.
People love it. We want to know when it breaks. Even if we don't plan to take it that far, you love to know how much it could handle.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, and when I'm doing these emissions present tunes, man, they drive great. Like everyone that rides in one of our emissions present trucks, especially that's used to like our elite tuning or elite tune in general, when they ride in our emissions present tunes, like, whoa, I didn't expect that. That's awesome. And it is. But the problem is, that's almost as far as I can get you. That's about all that's there. And I know what's left in the tank. And we had Charlie at KC Turbos down recently. Super freaking good guy. I actually learned a good bit from him. He's awesome. When he was down and we were looking at the data and the power and stuff we're making, he's like, but there's more. And I was like, well, look at where our NOx sensors are right now. I was like, you can't actually go any more than this, because although it looks fine and our data looks fine, it's going to throw a check engine light. It's going to have a problem in this amount of time. We will go test drive and everything will be great. Wait for it. The next guy that comes in that's got the air filter stopped up 10%, you've got a tech problem. So you can't actually even push it to these points. You have to come to this spot here that the truck's going to legit stay happy in and not get pissed off and pass emissions. So it's like there's always so much more on the table, and I see it. And so if someone goes from me to someone else and they're like, oh, it's way more power, I'm like, yeah, but like it's not going to last. It's not going to work. So it's the industry, I just want the industry to loosen up. You know, and I'm trying to hang turbos and injectors and pumps off of stuff. I'm trying to spray all kinds of things in my engine. I want
Got
to go
two.
racing.
Yeah, I think we all do. We love to see it, and
Yeah.
looking forward to that. There's two last questions for you. The other one was when or what's holding back 25 plus Ram tuning?
It's the ECU. I mean, it's straight up the ECU. I honestly don't know if I was always told by friends that work high up in OEMs that it's because of the EPA that the ECUs are locked down so hard. The more we're seeing Zeldin come out, which is kind of fun to watch play out in public, the more we're seeing Zeldin talk, and the more we're seeing kind of the OEM loosen up a little bit. Uh, I think it is the EPA is the biggest reason that the ECUs are super, super locked up. And they wouldn't necessarily ever come out and say that, especially before, because you say anything against the climate cult, you don't want that. So, but I think we'll see what happens. It's like anything else, though. It'll get unlocked. It's just a matter of time.
Very cool. Now, this last one, I debated whether to ask you, and I actually want to read it verbatim.
Okay.
It's from Ryan Milliken at Hardway Performance.
Oh
He
God.
said, ask him who his daddy is and why is it me?
Normally, I love Ryan. We've been close friends for so long. I don't know why he said that. So I went back with him, and I was like, "Don't you call me because you ate the most large, girthy hot dogs, and I couldn't get that many in my mouth. It doesn't make you daddy." No, Ryan's a great dude, man. One of the best calibrators in the game. Like, that's another thing. Imagine you let a Ryan Milliken come back and play. How cool we could make. I mean, like, he's doing the Motex and all that stuff, and I mean, he's at the top level. The boy's awesome. But imagine you let someone like that come back and play with these stock trucks and start adding on little parts. The industry hasn't seen anything. We haven't seen innovation realistically that's mind-boggling here in what 6-7+ years as far as like turbo and air goes. You know, there's nothing really super innovative. We're just kind of reinventing the wheel on new stuff. And there's so much things people could do. And if you truly let the Ryans, the Levons, the PPIs, let these companies go. Old Mark Broviac, Danville back in the day. Let these old school cats play. The fun and the funny thing is you know, we're all friends. The majority of the tuning industry, everybody's friends. So you let us all come back and play, and that would be awesome. You could see me and Ryan go, and we'll have some wars at the track or something of who's daddy. He'd probably get me for a little while, though. That boy's going fast right now. I better go find a couple. I didn't say that. Yeah, everybody's so fast right now. But no, Ryan's not my daddy. He's a worm.
Well, it was really cool to chat with you, Kory. I always appreciate your time, but really wanted to catch up with you about all this stuff that happened since we talked last, and then give us a direction on how we can help, what we can do. I'm sure there'll be some more new stuff this year where we can chat again about
Absolutely.
some changes. But appreciate what you're doing, the information you put out, the content, and it's a great chat with you this evening.
It was, and I want to thank everybody. I've got, I'm not a content creator. I don't know how to play all those games. I'm a nerd, but I do my best to put the information out there, and I get, oh my God, I have so many comments and DMs, and it's impossible. I can't get to everything, and I'm not putting an automated system on again. That was a nightmare. But I just want to tell everybody that's like supporting me and the whole movement. Like, seriously, thank you. I might not be able to respond to every message, every comment. I mean, it's impossible, but I try to see as much as I can. And like, seriously, thank all you guys, because before I was kind of just the crazy person, and now it's starting to come around that things are happening, but it takes all of us. And I think here very, very, very soon, we'll maybe have some even better messaging of maybe what this administration wants to hear. And, just start turning the volume up. If you want to help, then take a little bit of time and just go comment on the EPA's post about this stuff. It sounds crazy, but I'm doing it.
Awesome. Thanks again, Kory. We'll make sure and echo that message for you.
For sure. I appreciate it.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Use code 20TD8FR26 to get 20% off your order. Kershaw's got a whole lineup of knives to meet any budget that you might have, whether it's a new knife for EDC, hunting, fishing, something around the job site, around the house. They've got you covered with a bunch of different choices for blade steel, blade shape, different handle designs, opening mechanisms, and you also get free shipping over $50. So we really appreciate them offering that discount code just for Diesel Podcast listeners. Also want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters: Robert, John, TSW Diesel, all of our other Patreon supporters, all of you who follow us on social media. We appreciate all your support here in year 10 of the Diesel Podcast and look forward to bringing you more of the content that you want to hear in 2026. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.